Hey, welcome. It's Ken again for about the third time today. Um, I am back because I had a little bit of drawing to do, and I'm starting to like capturing some of these sketch covers live, so that I can then share the videos with the recipients of the covers. And some of them have been from the Kickstarter. Some of them are just people who like the covers, and sometimes I just do them ahead of time for fun because I know somebody will buy one, somebody wants one. I get a lot of great response from these sketch covers. So you're not going to see my face. You're going to see my comics in my hand. This is my hand. I'm Ken. Didn't do my nails. Sorry. And today we're doing sketch covers for my last Kickstarter, uh, Angel's Blood. Sorry, it's actually not for the Kickstarter, but um, this was the book we ran a Kickstarter for, and these are rewards from it. I printed some extras. Part of the Kickstarter was that you get to make some books, and I made some books that I can't wait to draw on. Uh, I cheated and I started a little early on this one because this is for someone who's probably, I'm thinking, not a demon monster fan. So I thought I'd do something a little more fun. We're gonna do a little Spider-Man. You can see kind of the rough outline there. I already did in pencil, and I'm going to tidy it up with some toned marker and a little bit of colored pencil just for flash. Um, when I'm doing a Spider-Man, there's several ways you can do one. And you can just do one straight on, looking at the camera. You can do one twisting in the wind. I like those. Spider-Man swing through the air. Or one of my favorites, because it's just eye-catching, is Spider-Man hanging upside down. The problem is I can't draw upside down, so I can turn the book upside down, and we're going to go with that. So you see, I've already got a rough outline of my head here. I'm going to just darken those lines. Spider-Man, the shape of his head is a character unto itself. I don't think a lot of people realize, you don't think about it, but I mean, that actually does need to be like a certain smoothness, and you don't even see like his ears. Where if a real person was wearing a mask, you'd see bumps here, but you just can't draw Spider-Man like that. It doesn't look right. So got some muscles here, and one day or other I'll learn all my muscle structure names, lats, traps, deltoids, whatever. I don't know any of that shit. Pardon my language. But I know I got shoulders. The shoulders come to a V here, and we're just gonna go around like that. Some people draw Spider-Man uh, in a different way. Some people draw him more lanky, more like a spider. I tend to prefer for my superheroes to be more like humans. I mean, obviously, incredibly fit, toned, you know, um, athletic, muscular bodybuilder type humans, but still humans. So, for example, when I draw a Superman, I don't draw the big hulking Superman that some people do. And oh my God, some people have been drawing Batman that way recently. Drives me nuts because Batman is not as big and muscular as the Hulk. He's a guy, he's a man, and he's got to pass. Here's the other thing: these people with secret identities, they have to pass for human when they're in their secret identity clothes, plain clothes. And so it makes no sense for me that you got them like so buff that they're not normal. They got to look like they could at least have gotten that way from going to the gym, like a regular person. So I'm going for shoulder, elbow, hand. This is how I just kind of figure out. In my mind, I'm doing a skeleton here. I'm not sketching it, but I'm drawing a point for a shoulder, a point for an elbow, and then a point for like the wrist, and that's how I know where the hand should be. And that's how I know that these arms cross. We've got an elbow going on here. Because really, how your thing is positioned depends on the joints. It's all about the joints. Unless you're Mr. Fantastic, your Spider-Man's arm is not going to bend like all every which way. It can only bend from here to here and then here to here. It's another mistake I see a lot of people make. That, I mean, you could call it a style choice, but it really takes me out of the drawing and then the story. And ultimately, no matter how cool your drawing is, and this is a complaint I hear a lot about my hero Todd McFarlane, style over substance. But no matter how cool your drawing is, if it's not serving the story, it's not doing its job. Now, I believe in my heart that Todd McFarlane's style served his story well. It did not serve every story. I don't think it went great with, say, Batman. Although his Batman is cool looking, but when you if you see him drawing other characters and stuff within that universe, his style is wild and fantastical and definitely lacking in proper proportion. But its strength is in its excitement. So it's really good for things like the Hulk and for drama. Um, Good for Spider-Man. Spider-Man, you can get away with doing Spider-Man out of proportion in some ways, but you can't make his joints bend in ways that joints don't bend because he doesn't have that. All right, so in my mind, I'm looking here. Go to the knee. Knee's going off the screen a little bit. Got some muscles. We're not going to see his feet here. We're going to just go shadowy on this. I talk about the Hulk a lot, and the Hulk is my very favorite superhero. Well, he's my favorite character. I do not now or ever consider the Hulk a superhero. I don't consider him that at all. He's a reluctant hero, perhaps, but not a superhero, because he doesn't set out normally to be heroic. He's a monster. He's a creature of rage. He's a misunderstood, childlike being. I'm gonna put this here. So I kind of think in this sense, Spidey's he's swinging all over, and I like the notion that Spider-Man can swing upside down, defying gravity in every which way. I also, by the way, do the spaghetti webbing the way Todd McFarlane did. He picked it up, and I can't remember where. Um, so I'm not going to try because my comic peeps will eat me alive for getting it wrong. But um, he didn't originate it, but he certainly perfected it. I swear, and that means having a strand weaving all throughout it. Got some stuff like that. I respect Todd McFarlane though. He brought a lot to the character. He revolutionized comics in so many ways, and so you can say what you want about what he did and how he did it, and his style and his attitude, but you can't deny that things changed after Todd McFarlane hit the scene, and they changed nearly single-handedly because of Todd McFarlane. I know there was other guys in Image, but I'm talking about pre-Image. I'm talking about what hit me with Todd was like the Incredible Hulk, his work on that, which led him to get his own Spider-Man book because it was like some groundbreaking shit stuff. I swear more at night. I'm sorry. And right now it's about 11:23 at night. Still early for me, but probably late for you. So I'm working on getting the foundation here before I get into any shading and tones. Um, I have my favorite Spider-Man styles. If you look over the years, there's so many little ways you can do the webbing differently, or you can do his costume with slight variations, or the eyes. The eyes are insanely easy to do different things on, and still be recognizable as Spider-Man eyes. Strangely enough, my favorite eyes are not the eyes that I draw, and that's largely because I always thought when I draw Spider-Man, I don't want to draw just like everybody else. You might be looking at this thinking, what the hell? Your Spider-Man is very much like everybody else, but it's not. At least not in my mind. And that's all that matters. So in my head, I'm not drawing him the way, I'm not even drawing him my favorite way. I'm drawing him in a way that stands out to me differently from the dozens and dozens of other people and the way I've seen Spider-Man drawn. So you can see the webbing. I have a certain level of spacing between my webbing when I draw it. Todd, oh my God. I go back to Todd McFarlane a lot, but when I was coming up, when I was younger, if you've heard the story, I mean, Todd McFarlane's Hulkworks inspired me when I was about 14, and he was a young nobody back then. In fact, when you look at his pencils, they kind of sucked. He was all over the place. Now you can give some of that to inconsistent inkers, no doubt, but also just looking at the quality of his work and the consistency of it that just wasn't really there in his first few issues of the Hulk run. It's something else, man. But he was growing, learning, and changing, and becoming a superstar right at the same time that I was, thinking about getting into comics and developing myself as a comic book style illustrator. Really learning to focus myself. What do I want to do? What kind of art do I want to do? I always knew I wanted to do art. I just didn't know how to focus it. Pardon me, I'm losing the earpiece. And I'm trying to keep those in so I can listen. Back to my point, though, the webbing, I have just a certain amount of spacing like this that I think is more classic and readable, and honestly takes less time. When McFarlane does the webbing, he does them so tight. He probably gets 2 more webbings inside each other one of these webbings that I would do, and he makes them more pronounced, more thick, more lines here too, so they're more angular, much more like this kind of thing than the way that I draw mine. And I like that a lot. It looks cool, but it's not the way I want to do it. He once said in an interview, "Don't try to draw like anybody else. They've already got a Todd McFarlane. They've already got a J. Scott Campbell. There's already been a Jack Kirby. What do they need you for to just rehash that, And a lot of people do that. All right, so when I do the Spider-Man 2, I don't really like to do his legs symmetrically when they're going out like this. You'll see that these are not balanced, and unfortunately, they look a little off to me, but they're going off the page. I don't think that he would be totally symmetrical, so sometimes it may look wrong, but it's also right that I don't have him perfectly going one way or another. Though I do see, as I'm looking at the screen, my paper's on an angle, my phone's on an angle. A little better. I am going to fix some of that to make it not look so wacky, so out of place. Joint to knee and pelvis to knee, and that's going to give me more here. That makes me feel a little bit better. So, now, I don't want to do a full colored rendering thing. Except I forgot some more webbing I wanted to do. I don't want to do this in full color because it's one, it's a sketch cover, and I know a lot of guys do sketch covers with as much detail as they do full on, $200 art pieces, which I mean that's cool too. If I had that kind of time and energy in my life, and I didn't have another book that I was working on a deadline for, hint hint, Sky Princess coming soon. I could spend 2 hours on every sketch cover, and that would be a blast and a lot more fun. However, that's not where I'm at here, and that's not really what I want these to be. I want these to be fun, light, and have some energy. So I am going to not fully color, but I'm going to throw in hints of color for the costume. I feel like Spider-Man deserves that much. But I'm going to make it rough and sketchy. So intentionally rough and sketchy. I also think I'm going to do a light source coming from the left here, which will be the right when I flip this back over correctly. So while I'm doing this, I've got other things in my mind. Like I know that I'm doing the muscle shapes. And in my head, these are shadows. I'm doing these where there would be shadows because I'm thinking about light sources, and there's going to be light here. So wherever it might be dark, that's going to be more red because you wouldn't see the light and the red would show up. I'm imagining a little bit of backlight too. So let's leave some space here and here. So there would be some light coming from behind him. Probably, I don't know, from something in the city. Not from the show of a different name, just something in the city. Yeah. I'm also going to go over a lot of these lines with my markers just for a little bit of cool clarification, make it sharper. But what I like about this is I get to do detail where there was none. Um, I'm a black and white art guy. You had if I were up to me, man, I would do all of my stuff just in black and white. I think it's got more energy and it's more fun. Color color does a great job for certain things, and it's cool, but it's not where my passion lies. Um, I am an okay colorist. I think I can color. I do color. If any of my coworkers and clients are watching this, I'm an amazing colorist, and I should color everything forever because I'm great. Um, but in all truthfulness, it's a means to an end. It's a necessity more than a passion for me coloring because like you have to color, you have to get some things colored. Me, I prefer black and white for everything. So. Still got a light source coming from over here. So I'm gonna do. Oh, gotta have this. Spidey's shapes there, shadows here. Let's give him a little extra muscle definition there. I do like doing colored pencils because you can press harder and get a shadow, more shadows in there that weren't there, and then let up a little bit, still color an area. Like this, I'm gonna give this muscle a little more definition, but I'm still gonna color the rest really lightly. So the light was coming from here. We'd get shadow from his body and arms here and here, probably a little more definition for the legs. I will admit to throwing in extra leg muscles when I think it needs it. May not be anatomically correct, but um, sometimes if your character like Spider-Man, I feel like when he's in the air, all of his muscles are going to be taut, tight, tense. Um, and when you see like a bodybuilder and stuff, man, your muscles are just there's lines and veins everywhere. Um, so when you want to convey something like that, you put in some extra lines. I feel like singing a song. Oh, hey, launched my Kickstarter today, which is why you've heard from me 3 times. Um, Hatched my new sketchbook project, and it's called a sketchbook, and I call it that because that's what everybody calls them. I feel like that's a little inaccurate. I just don't have a better term because it's not really like just a series of sketches. It's actually going to be a lot of finished art. There'll be some sketches and some behind the scenes stuff for it, but a lot of it is just going to be unpublished work, stuff you haven't seen before, or if you've seen it, it's only been like online or shared with social media and stuff because it's stuff that hasn't been in print, stuff that hasn't been published. I'm not putting anything uh, totally used in there except for a couple of pieces, and I'll explain them in the book that are just going to be autobiographical. I want to share a little bit from like my work at Cosmic Times. There's a little behind the scenes thing in there, and you know what? I can show you because I got some right here. I mean, if you're watching this far, you must be a little bit interested in my work, right? Oh, I lied. I don't have that. Oh, that was a waste of time. Let's look at these other sketch covers though. Let's do that instead. Here's some sketch covers I did last week for one of our big backers for the Kickstarter. And I get a kick out of that stuff. Sorry, I thought I had the Cosmic Times piece saved in my video stream, and I do not. So, red. Do I have enough red? I feel like I don't. There's a fine line between being like this squiggly, sketchy type of stuff I'm trying to do, and between doing it properly or doing it and making your point and just making it messy. I'm trying not to make it messy. It looks very messy, but it's definitely a work in progress. Where are we at with time? I'm not looking to go too long on this. I try to spend maybe, I don't know, half hour each on these because they're more than just a quick 5 minute sketch. You know, this is for somebody's book. Somebody's going to own this and save this and hopefully keep it forever and ever. With any luck, they'll keep it in the plastic, but to that end. Okay, so because I got a light source and I want to work on that a little bit, I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually really push it. So I'm going to pull that light source out by using simple yellow highlighter. I like using this trick because it's bold and it's sort of easy. And I always have a highlighter around. The only trick is make sure it's a new highlighter. Because it's got to be bold and it's got to go exactly where you put it. Right? You don't want it. You know how a highlighter gets used and old after a while, and you don't really want that to be um your light source, or it'll look real shabby. It'll be harder to make a good highlight there. See, I've got light coming from the side over here, and wherever it's going to hit, I just put a little bit of that. And in my mind, I do the opposite, where when it's shadowy, I just go darker with a shadow like this. And like this. So like this hand is behind this hand, so it's going to be darker. This foot is behind, so it's going to be darker. You get what I'm saying? I also think the highlights are going to go a little bit on the webbing. We forget about the webbing. I always imagined the webbing would be really shiny. I don't know if it would or not. And I'm not sure if they do that in the movies. But I like it. And I think it makes sense to me. All right, now I'm going to find me. Sorry, you probably hear me rustling around. I'm going to find myself a nice pen. Yeah, this will work. To ink some of this, and I'm not going to ink this completely. I'm going to throw in some blacks just to offset all of these messy lines we got going on. Cleans them up a little bit. Now, what should be black? His eyes should definitely be black. Or the outside of Spider-Man's eyes. That should be bold. So I'm going to do those real quick. This pen has a nice flexible nib, a tip. I also think his Spidey symbol should be very black. I always want to see that. Very bold. Okay. I'm going to do just some of his muscles, a little bit of his outline. Like I said with this, I don't want to do every little thing. I think it'll take away from the sketchy feeling of the picture. Once you start inking, ink is smooth, and when you're doing something like this that's intended to be rough, you can quickly take away from that by polishing it too much. Believe me, I'm the worst at that. For that, I sometimes polish my work until it's unrecognizable, and even though the polishing looks cool, I can do a lot with ink. It loses energy, and it's a hard balance to strike. And I'm going to do a black here, though. This is where my cross-hatching is a big fan, a friend of mine. Hence the name of my new book, Hatched. Because you can do things with lines like this that help you fade instead of just having a sharp image. Or a sharp, image. I mean, sharp shape or your shadows are not always going to want to be shapes. They're just going to want to taper from lighter to dark like this. And I'm going to do a little bit of that. Not much though. I don't want that to be, because once I start that, that's going to be, shucks, I might have gone too far already. That becomes the style of shading that you expect for the entire picture. Now, something else about Spider-Man is his God blessed shape of his face. If you get it wrong, it looks really wrong. So careful to practice that. And I usually fix a lot of his head shape because you basically make an oval. And when I get it a little bit off, I usually do like this and I fix it with thicker shadow. Try to do it on the bottom. The hardest part is getting the top uh, fairly round and smooth and not messing with that because that can be hard to ignore. When you're looking at a character, you're looking at his face first. You're looking at his head first. Um, Spider-Man especially. So I'm gonna take my black and just because it's got this pen has a flexible nib, you can get a finer line by just lightly pushing. You can get a thicker line when you press down on it, which I'm not inclined to do right now. I am right here though. See like this? Those lines are thicker. Um, I'm sorry, I zone out sometimes when I'm drawing. Art time does not work the same as regular time. And right now I'm in the middle of art time. It's late at night and I don't know if there's anybody watching, so I'm just going to quick check the comments too. Because you never know. Every now and then I get people talking to me online or on Facebook, and I don't even know that I'm missing their comments, and I don't find them till later. I feel bad. I don't mean to ignore anybody. The streaming service I use, StreamYard, has weird issues with connecting to Facebook. It does transmit to Facebook, but it doesn't always give me the comments section from Facebook. So if I miss your comments, I'm sorry. You can always message me, man. I'm a pretty personable guy, though. So actually, I'm gonna go for a very fine pen now. This is an extra small Pitt, Faber-Castell Pitt artist pen. And I'm gonna go with a very fine line here because I do not want the webbings to overpower the drawing, but I want them to be more solid than they are in pencil, especially because I've mostly colored over them in pencil with a colored pencil. And again, I don't need to do this everywhere. I just need to use my sense here, my own Spidey sense, and see um, where I think that it helps the picture. If it doesn't help the picture, I don't do it, and that's the rule. I do comics for fun. I make comics for money, professionally as an artist. But always, whether it's for me or for a client, I always keep the same attitude. I'm going to do my best, or it's not worth doing. I have done some books I did not like, and I still did my very best on them because I'm not going to try to put something out that doesn't reflect well on me, my client, or comics at large. I think about comics like a performance piece. My daughter does theater, and they always say, every night, every performance, give it your all because that might be somebody's first night seeing a play. Might be your 20th time doing the damn show, but it might be some little kid's first time ever watching a live show. And maybe that's the day that kid falls in love with theater. And I know because it happened to my kid. It happened to her one day. She was on somebody's show. It was the last show. It was the fourth show of the weekend, the last um, performance of Beauty and the Beast. And they crushed it. And she fell in love with theater that very night. She was 5 years old. And I tell you what, when she was 6, she joined her first play, and she hasn't stopped doing them since. She is now 13 years old, working on her 12th show. That's for another podcast. So this is my happy-go-lucky upside-down Spider-Man. I'm starting to think he needs a little Spidey sense. So I'm gonna grab another highlighter here and just give him right. I'm gonna freehand some squiggles because Spidey just has that. They're very light. You can't see them in this light, but trust me, when you've got this book in your hand, they pop out. All right, friends, that is another Ken Lenar sketch cover. This time, I do a Spidey on this one, just for kicks and for the sake of fun. Um, I'm gonna sign it because the last thing I do is, or maybe you don't. If you watch one of my videos, the last thing I always do is sign the book, and that's how I can verify that it's done, and I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. That's me, 2021. Got my little squiggly heart thing going on. There. Let's line that up like so. Angel's Blood, Spidey sketch cover, a little bit of color, not full color, but just for fun, something to have and to hold. Thank you. Hope you watch the next one. Take care of each other.